Now I just want to share this presentation. Oh, cool. This is perfect. I wonder what happens if I do this. Okay. So if I switch the screen, cool. Awesome. Now the only other thing I'm going to do is share the screen this way as well. Almost there. I know this is impromptu.
No, it's all good. We got lots of people online.
And this will be fun. Oh, really?
Yeah. On the WebEx.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Okay, so they can hear me.
You're gonna have to stay
That's there.
Kind of in this general area.
Perfect.
This, you can get out of your way.
And so that's visible.
Now, don't let this confuse you because whatever is showing here, but that's what everybody else
That's
is
what
seeing.
everybody sees. Awesome.
Yeah.
And now if I do this. Awesome. Okay, very cool. Okay. Cool. Awesome. I think we are good.
I'll let you just kick off and get going.
All right, sounds good. I'm going to shoot an
This
invite.
is an adventure all the way around.
This is, absolutely.
This is fun.
There you go. Okay.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Tech Town Hall. We've got quite a few people online today as well. And I'm going to let Sean just kick it off, and we got all sorts of stuff going on up here. So
Yes.
great time.
So, how's it going, guys? My name's Sean Larkin. So I don't know who here has never seen, interacted with me, or met me in like the business case, or have we never worked on a project together? Maybe. Okay. So hi. I work in the digital experience and design department up on floor 9, so marketing and communications. And so what I'm going to talk about today, actually we have some really cool things that are going to go on. But the topic is Webpack and its core concepts. Who here has done any web development before? Okay, so a handful. Who here has never, who here has written a web page in the last week? How about the last like 3 months? Okay. Well, it could, yeah. So that's what some people say is like 10 years in JavaScript years. So the technology moves really fast. So what I'm going to present to you is an open source tool called Webpack. So let me get started. So yeah, I'm Sean. I'm a user experience developer at Mutual of Omaha in the digital experience and design department. Or team under marketing communications. So now what you guys don't know is that right now we're actually live streaming to the entire world this presentation as well. So I've given this talk a few times at other conferences before, and so anybody out there who wants to be a part of Mutual of Omaha, come up here. So home of the highly controversial license plate draft. And for the people who aren't from Nebraska, we like to joke that this is where most people think we're from, but I live in Lincoln myself. That's where it really is. So a little bit about myself. I'm a former tech support rep gone rogue, and I got tired of not being able to fix people's problems. I did a really great job communicating, helping people in tech support, but you were always just kind of working around issues. So I taught myself how to program, and I've worked a little bit in Objective-C, as well as Ruby, and then now JavaScript is primarily what I've been really passionate and focused on. I also, own some chickens and like woodworking and stuff. So you also may know me if you're in the JavaScript world. I'm one of the maintainers of Webpack. So I'm on the Webpack core team as well as the Angular CLI core team. And for anybody interested, you can feel free to pull out your phones and tweet this. But you can find me at the Larkin at any of those links. And if you guys have any other questions, non-work-related, personal, money, whatever, you can go to my Ask Me Anything. So let's talk about JavaScript modules. Who here knows what a JavaScript module is? Okay, all right. So what are some of the qualities? They don't pollute the global scope, so they're encapsulated. They're also reusable. We like that. And they help keep everything organized. It allows to give you some sense of structure in your application. And they're nice to use. It's better than just, a 10,000 line global.js file. I know we've all been there. But how do you use them? And there's a couple different ways. So you could, add JavaScript through a script tag. That's not really a module, though. You could use some global variables and set something, but you have scope leak and issues with that. Or you can use like namespace kind of patterns, like require, import, things you're used to from seeing like in other programming languages. And what do they look like, though? They all have a different shape. So we have common JS modules. We have AMD. So any Angular 1 users out there, this is really common pattern. We have AMD plus common JS. And then we have ES 2015 and TypeScript modules. So let's talk about making them all work together for the browser, because that's what we're writing for. So the thing is that every library is different, and they have all their own unique requirements and needs. You might have something shipped in AMD, but then also common JS. So how are you going to support this? And it's just JavaScript we're talking about right now. That doesn't count styles, CSS, images, fonts. You all have to have separate requirements for that as well. So wouldn't it be nice if it all just worked together? I mean, the beauty is that, this would all be simplified if there was just one way to handle that. So let's talk about Webpack. Okay, so what is Webpack? Webpack is a module bundler. And I like to say right away, it's not a task runner. What it does is it treats every file or every asset or file in your web application as a dependency. And it treats it as a module. So it's not just JavaScript we're talking about. We're talking about CSS, HTML, PNGs, fonts, etc. It treats everything like a module. And it's a static build tool. So it's something that never really runs in the browser. It runs as a build step before you publish your code. So there's 3 different ways that you can kind of use it. This is just an example of a Webpack config file. It's a little bit more fleshed out. But a config file it's just a JavaScript module that gets exported with a bunch of properties. You can also use the really simple CLI that we have in the library. And then also probably one of my favorites is the Node API. Really what's happening here is that it's just you're requiring Webpack, which is the module runtime, and you pass it that configuration object, and you can kind of control what the stats and how it handles the compilation. So the whole purpose of this talk is that now I want to teach you guys the fundamental concepts. So often since I first talked about Webpack at NGConf last year, I found out that really people use Webpack. There's a huge majority of web developers out there that are utilizing this library, but don't understand how it works. And it kind of adds to the, tech debt frustration that sometimes people can experience. And so what I want to teach you is just the basic concepts and leave you with determining, how that it could work with your stack. So that's what we're going to talk about. But I guess real quick, so who here knows what grunt is or gulp? Has anybody used those before? A couple hands. All right. And I know how many here don't write JavaScript, but write Java or C# or something. All right. So you guys are going to see some very familiar patterns to what you do natively. But these patterns have never existed in the web. And so just a little food for thought. So the core concepts. Entry. So I wanted to show you a little very simple graph. And that is maybe what an application might look like that you're using. And so you have a bootstrap file that is kind of going to be like to kick off your app. But it requires some sort of component. But inside of that, it's also importing some additional component and also an external library. And then let's say that external library has an external library. And those, let's just say for some reason, have some other asset that they depend on. Like how many here have used Bootstrap or Awesome before? Like perfect example. So the top right there, that is considered the entry. This is what the concept entry represents in Webpack. Because Webpack collects, basically creates a tree of your dependencies or a graph of your dependencies, it has to start from a terminal node of that tree. And so the entry property literally represents the first file that Webpack is going to scan through and look for other require and important dependency statements. So I like to call it the contextual root of your app, or the first thing that's going to kick off your entire your project. So in Webpack, the configuration, to set it, you just have to pass the path of the entry point to an entry property, and that's it. Now, there's a couple other ways that you can set this value, but this is the simplest way. And I just want you guys to understand the concepts and not as much focus on the implementation details of the code. You can see here what happens is as it starts at the entry point, and it's going to scan through and collect and walk through this tree or graph until it finds every dependency that's needed. So in short, entry, it tells Webpack what to load for the browser. And then it complements another property or core concept we call output. So output in its simplest, it sounds pretty straightforward, and I think it is. So essentially, once Webpack has collected those dependencies, it has to do something with them. And so the output property or the concept literally represents where and how it's going to emit this bundle of code. A lot of times in examples on the web, etc., you're going to find bundle referenced a lot. And so bundle is just kind of the resulting compiled library. So, Java developers, that might be some sort of compiled runtime. And that's what we're doing for the web. It's just that the web is optimized to not have as many requests as possible for the current state. And so by creating slightly larger bundles, you cut, you save extra network calls instead, and it's a solid win. So here in the code example, and like I said, just a pretty simple one, we have a path property that's inside of output, and we're just specifying where and what the name of the file is that's going to be emitted. So in short, output simply tells Webpack where and how to distribute your bundles. And in the code, we call them compilations, and then I think we call them also chunks. But you can just think about bundles, the code that you're going to use for the web or for whatever application. And it works with the entry property. So this is like one of my favorite concepts. I think it really sets other bundlers and build tools apart from it, is the concept of loaders. So like I described to you guys, Webpack only understands JavaScript. And so at the same time, it treats everything as a module, though, and a dependency. So although things may have additional, so let's just use this example. So we have here an entry file that may require a certain dependency type, like a TypeScript file. But that one may require some JavaScript file. And you saw in that example, that also required some dependency in CSS. So the point is that loaders allow Webpack allow Webpack to have additional instructions on how to treat non-JavaScript. And maybe this will clarify it. So there's two properties that are required to be able to make these transformations. So essentially a test, which is a regular expression, and then a loader, which is just a path to a node module. So a loader in Webpack is just a function that takes a source and returns a new modified source. And there's three main steps that you can think of: resolve, transform, and bundle. And so after Webpack has resolved a file, it's going to look at that extension and say, hey, is that JavaScript? No. Okay, well, let's see what my declared instructions are for processing non-JavaScript. And so these are the instructions here, and that's what loaders are. So it essentially allows you to treat anything you want as a dependency in your web project, so that not only it gives a better experience as a web developer, but it also allows you to leverage the compilation lifecycle and hook into more powerful features. So there's some additional properties that people like to, or that I like to make people aware of. So you can also chain loaders together. And so you'll see loaders here that can take an array of strings as well as include and exclude. So just certain ways to ignore specific paths or paths inside of what you're resolving. So here's an example of live in action, and I've highlighted the loader and kind of just some of those additional properties. So let's say who here has ever it depends on the project, but written tests that are right next to your component. I know a few people have done that before. So this is a perfect example. When you're creating a bundle or your runtime in a test environment, want to be able to actually use those tests. But in production, you want to ignore that because you don't want to bundle up your tests. So that's a great application for why include and excludes work. So the last, I guess, part about loaders is the ability to chain them. And so I won't dive too deep on it, but I want to give just an example of the application and some of the nuances that make it a little bit steep for first-time users. So chaining loaders is just like chaining one transform to the next. So let's say loaders are meant to be kind of a one-purpose function. And so it makes them very composable. And to leverage that composition, you want to chain them together. So in this example that we have here, we are taking a style less file, which is just a preprocessor for CSS, and we're going to convert it actually to CSS. Less loader, and now we have CSS. And then we have CSS loader. What this does is actually converts it to an object representation in memory and outputs that into a JavaScript file. And it's passed to the final loader, the style loader. And so what that does, single purpose again, is it takes an object representation in memory or whatever those styles were, it to JavaScript code that slaps it on the browser in a script tag. So you can see here that essentially there's single purposes for each, but allow it to be composable and all be bundled together. So what does this allow you to do? This would allow you to actually require a CSS file or a less file inside your JavaScript, making it easier to track your dependencies. So one of the cool things is that we have such a really rich ecosystem thanks to the community. Loaders can be, you can make custom loaders, and this is just kind of like a scraped version of kind of all of this. But we have so many different types of loaders that can treat dependencies. And so the beauty is that Webpack is meant to work for you rather than trying to fit your environment, around your tooling, because that's not how it's supposed to work. And so this gives you the possibility to say, hey, I want to use, Haml, and I want to use Jade templates or Pug, or I want to load a YAML file, or use Sass or Stylus, or whatever you want. And so this kind of open, rich ecosystem makes that possible, and it's one of my favorite parts. So I guess in all, loaders tell Webpack how to interpret and transform files that are not JavaScript and include it into your bundle. So, plugins. So before I dive into what they do, I want to kind of describe the anatomy. So a plugin, I always commonly call them an ES5 class, although some people say since it's JavaScript, it can just be an object with an applied property. But the purpose of plugins is that they allow you to hook into the Webpack compilation lifecycle. So what's a good example in other languages? Let's say you could hook into Clang or LLVM and have events emitted to do extra crazy things. That would be maybe comparable. That's what this is doing with the Webpack plugin system. And so it allows you to create custom functionality during specific events that are emitted from the compiler. And essentially, it makes the possibilities limitless at what can be accomplished. And so here's an example of what one would look like in JavaScript. So if we just look at the example here, it has kind of three parts. One is it has the top level function, and so this is like kind of an ES5 class, like function constructor. So there's our constructor, and options would be passed there if we had one for our plugin. And then the only property that is needed is apply. And so that apply method is what is called by the compiler, and it passes itself in so you can hook into different events. So this plugin, what it's doing here, essentially it says when Webpack is done or if it's failed, go ahead and write out to console, which is like a bell tone, and that's what that that character representation is. So that's maybe like one of the simplest examples of what a plugin looks like. So now that you kind of understand what it looks like and the anatomy, this is how you would use it. So in Webpack, you can pass a plugin property, and it's going to be an array. And you just pass a new instance of that plugin. And if there are options that you need to pass in, you can go ahead and do so. And so what you'll notice here, even in this example, that there is a Webpack dot, optimized dot. So we have a huge set of plugins that are just meant for the users to have out of the box already built for you. And so you can access those by just requiring Webpack into your configuration file and using them. And I'll share the slides, but there's a huge list of plugins that are already available, not only from us, but the ecosystem as well. And then here's the kicker. So if you want to dive into Webpack source code, you'll notice that 80% of the source itself is made up of this plugin ecosystem. So essentially, we are running the same plugins to accomplish core functionality that you are using on the surface level API. Yeah, that's right. So, in all, plugins add additional functionality. They allow you to have more access to the plugin API and the compiler API. It basically allows you to do whatever you want to. So, before I take questions, I like to just do some clear the air first. So, like, somebody says, well, why use Webpack when I've gotten Gulp? And so I said, because Gulp doesn't know how to bundle modules. All it does is perform tasks. And so I make that separation because it's a task runner that just it has no understanding of your dependency graph and what files you're actually using. So, what would it be like if you just were using Lodash and with gulp or grunt, you're going to get the whole file even if you use one function. So a great example was somebody from one of the authors of CSS modules, Glenn Mattern. He let me use this for my presentations. Before something like Webpack, this is kind of how we grouped our tasks in a task runner. But now you can see, instead of making single changes to bulks of files, we're now treating it as a dependency graph like this. And although maybe a lot of the transformations may be similar, you're leveraging so much more by having it all interconnected with itself. So, what's better, Webpack or System.js? Well, actually, they're completely different. This is a trick question. One's a module bundler, and one is a module loader. So System.js is something that lives in the runtime and helps you accomplish a module loading system. So technically, you could use them both, if you wanted to. So the next one is, but HTTP2 will fix everything. Wrong. Wrong. No, instead, it actually makes Webpack more feasible to be used. It's more enticing. So who knows about the HTTP2 protocol? So essentially this, right now, the current state of the web, the browsers that are only supporting H1, you can only make 6 concurrent requests to external resources at once. And then it blocks, and then it does a waterfall waiting. So by having a bunch of, like script tags in your browser is really, will really cause a performance hit. So H2 was designed to do a streaming multiplex that can handle up to 50 concurrent. And so although it may fix some of those side effects, when you look at modern JavaScript projects today, they can have 300 dependencies. And that's still 300, trying to make 300 concurrent requests, and the overhead is just not worth it. So I like to say that, H2 will allow Webpack to be more powerful because we can create smaller bundles, but many of them. JavaScript faster. So here's just a little comparison table. I know there's probably other people who've used different bundlers before in the past. But this is, you can see the red column right there, and you might not be able to see it, but this was the reason why I chose Webpack, X months ago when I first got my hands on it. And you can kind of make up your mind just feature set wise, what's the right decision? And really this, I'm just scratching the surface. This, I don't want to leave people too overwhelmed and just giving the concepts of how it works so that you can take it and do whatever you want with it. So some of the things that we, like here's a list of things that I haven't talked about yet, like a built-in dev server, hot module replacement, which basically allows you to change your JavaScript code and it will automatically update in the browser via WebSockets without even having to ever refresh. Code sharing and lazy loading modules. So we have a pattern. Any Gwt developers here? Yeah, look at that. So actually, Webpack was inspired by Gwt and the patterns of code splitting. I'm sure you're familiar with code splitting, how it works. So Webpack performs code splitting based on certain statements that you use in your code, and separate it into different files so you can lazy load modules and only ship what you need right away for the initial render. And then like source maps out of the box, it's one property, you set it to dev tool and you get source maps. So Webpack 2. We have a whole bunch of stuff coming for the future. And we may have something extremely exciting to announce right after I'm done giving this talk. So what does Webpack 2 bring? So it has native ES 2015 module support, a concept called tree shaking, which kind of leverages the dependency graph to use or dead code elimination. Java developers, But native developers, you guys are like, we've had this for years. We've got compilers. But we don't, and so this is huge for us. You know, bundles have been way too large, and people have been shipping too much JavaScript. This is going to really help. So we've even optimized the runtimes, as well as even a more concise loader syntax. You kind of saw a preview of what the older one was, and it's changed slightly since. So looking into the future, there's some crazy things that we want to do. And you know, some of these are just my ideas, and I haven't even convinced the core team yet. But so one that we have actually now that you can try in our beta is for H2, which is aggressive splitting plugin. So essentially, you use a plugin, and it's going to take your entire graph, and based on a size, a minimum and maximum size, it's going to split that entire graph into X amount of bundles. So you could essentially it's leveraging that multiplexing. So you could say, I only want to ship 100 KB bundles. So you'll get 30 bundles split out, and you can load all those into your browser, and it'll leverage that entire multiplexing. A dependency tree-driven push manifest. So H2 push allows you, for some servers, to implement a manifest file that tells the server, hey, when somebody requests this, you should also request these three if they're part of the dependency chain. Well, what better tool than the tool already analyzing statically your dependency graph than webpack? So we want to do that. A complete overhaul of our user interface. So I mean, you saw that first slide. That looked kind of daunting, and we want to really smooth out that top-level API and service layer for people so that it's easier to adopt the tool. Because we get it. It's probably one of our biggest complaints besides documentation. Optimization. So this is our #1 voted feature right now on our new doc site. And so essentially Rollup, which is another tool out there right now, is similar to Webpack, except it does kind of the reverse, and only with ES6 modules, where it will basically collapse all of your code into one function wrapper, and then it uses unique variables for each of them. And so what this does for the browser runtime is that there's a little bit of a linear size complexity that will affect in terms of overhead with Webpack. And so the more modules you have, the more function wrappers we create in our code. Well, Rollup kind of eliminates this by only having one. And so we're looking to bring this feature in because there's going to be huge performance wins. And we've been working with multiple browser teams. So I've had the opportunity to work with the Mozilla and Edge and Chrome team to say, how can we make better dev tools so that this can be even cooler and have custom instrumentation built right into the browsers for Webpack users. And then here's some crazy ideas. What if we could take headless Chrome, which is Chrome without the window, and then send your code to it, get the timeline statistics to get the performance benchmarks, and then use machine learning to automatically tweak the compilation process and code splitting patterns. So that'd be kind of cool. It's kind of actually similar to something Facebook does now. I learned after the fact, but and then what if we had a module spec that was driven by bundlers? Right now, there isn't a standard, for how non-JS should be loaded into a page in a script tag. But what if there was something like CSS modules and HTML modules? And so we're hoping to stay involved in that and make it possible. And then accessibility. This is huge for us. I mean, we have accessibility guidelines that we have to meet or get sued. And so essentially, how can we build in accessibility out of the box to make it easier? So we're working with Marcy Sutton, and hopefully, we can kind of brainstorm different ways that we can make that possible. So this is our new logo. I know you saw the old one. We, as part of doing our new documentation and getting to release Webpack 2, was we wanted a whole new look and feel. And so this is kind of like a little peek. And I wanted to explain to you, where we live in, the scope of web development. So who's already using Webpack? So the Angular CLI, that was one of my first responsibilities joining the team, was implementing Webpack in the Angular CLI. So now they're stuck with it, but no, they've been awesome. And then create React app. If any React users, I'm sure, have tried out the create React app. So you can install that there. Any PHP developers? No, just digital experience and design, just us. So what's cool though is that we are using Laravel 5.3 and Webpack is built into the framework already. Not only that, just as of like, when was that? Yeah, like December 12th. Ruby on Rails now ships by default with Webpack. Cradle Grails users, they're automatic drop-in templates for Webpack. Java JHipster users for scaffolding, it's kind of like Yeoman. Automatic templates for Webpack. And JavaScript, ASP.NET developers? I don't think, do you know how many ASP.NET here? Yeah, so there's also JavaScript services, which has Webpack under the scenes to handle all the processing. And so, before I ramble too much more, you guys have to be like, well, why? What's the business case? What's this, what are we trying to accomplish? So if you look here, every 100 milliseconds that you decrease in terms of time it takes to render your page, you increase your conversion percentages by 1%. What does 1% mean to a company like Mutual of Omaha? Not only that, but 53% of visits from a page on a mobile device take more than 3 seconds to, or get abandoned if they take more than 3 seconds to load. So if I go to mutualofomaha.com and it takes more than 3 seconds, I'm 50% likely to just walk away, go to something else, go to State Farm or New York Life. But here's the kicker: 77% of mobile sites right now take longer than 10 seconds to load. So it's not only a problem, for us trying to accomplish this, but it's the ecosystem as well. And so we've been working with not only teams, here in the United States who use Webpack, but then also through, the Google developers and DevRel have been working with companies like Housing.com and Flipkart, who their infrastructure is e-commerce. But in India, you literally can only access 2G and 3G devices. And so what was really telling and kind of a proud moment was Sam Saponi, who's part of the, who's at Google, represents a lot about web performance, basically said this is the new canonical benchmark for web development, and that's powered by Webpack. So, I'll say, you can't just add Webpack to your library, your web application, and expect it to fix everything. The whole point is that it is designed to allow patterns that are extremely complex to be easy to implement. Code splitting, adding service workers, rendering critical paths of code at certain times, making builds easier, the dev experience more enjoyable. And so, like we said, it's built by you, and we finished it. Yeah. So, in all, if you guys, where can you start? So if you want to learn it for the first time, I always recommend this video. I think it's one of the best. Frontend.center, you can check out Webpack from First Principles. It's by Glenn Mattern. Probably one of the most eloquently described intros to Webpack. You can also go to awesome-webpack to take a look at our community-driven list of awesome URLs, links, references, blog posts, information about the team, and all sorts of things. What's really exciting is that we just, I've been working with some developers in China, and we're actually now spinning off an entire Webpack China organization. So that's really exciting. And then take a look at our new docs page, or our docs site. So I said that we were holding out Webpack beta until the docs were complete. And so we finished our documentation milestone. And so now we're in RC, release candidate right now as we speak. get a great introduction. This is one of the documentation pages I and the community worked on. So just go to webpack.js.org/concepts. And how can you help? So there's so many different ways to contribute to open source. And I'll try not to stand too much on my soapbox, but there's no wrong way. You can triage GitHub issues. You can find me or find another maintainer and say, hey, I would love to help support the loader ecosystem and the plugin ecosystem. How can I do that? We even had a project board that I'm going to go through and update again, but we have labels that kind of discern what different GitHub issues are out there that are outstanding that we couldn't get to. So if you want to take a look at those, feel free. You can even help build documentation. If you love to do it, I mean, I'm not the biggest fan, and I'm not very good at writing, so that's why. But you can go to webpack or github.com/webpack.js.org, and you can see all the issues that we have. Pick any one you want and start writing. It's a great development environment. Use Webpack too, please. We rely on the feedback from the community to be able to know what parts are critical. I mean, literally, we built it for you. And in the end, if there's something that is blocking a critical path, we're going to go out of our way to fix it. And I guess finally, like I said, this is open source. This is not my full-time job. This is my full-time job at Mutual. And so I work on this outside of work when I have free time. And the same goes for the rest of the core team. And so we have what's called an open collective. So if you ever wanted to help donate, you can't donate your time. You can always visit our open collective, which is opencollective.com/webpack. It's been hugely successful. The community has really kind of gotten behind us and helped everybody so that those core team members who don't have time or need to actually supplement work to to work on this, now have that available funds. And it also serves as like a bounty source, a bounty source for other people who want to help. And so Open Collective is great. They've been awesome. And it's been really helpful for us. And you can tweet at me, of course, everybody here. You can always just come find me and bug me about Webpack. There's never a wrong time. But if you want to follow me on Twitter or tweet at me, or listen to me spam about Webpack, you can follow me and ask me. Or hashtag Webpack. So one of my roles in the core team is I represent kind of the community outreach and developer advocacy, as well as kind of support. And so aside from working in the code itself, I read as many Webpack tweets as possible. So if you have an issue, just tweet Webpack and you'll find it, or try to. So I guess with the last 14 minutes, I'll take questions. And then I have something really cool I want to announce to you guys afterwards. So we'll just do it live. So what kind of questions do we have? If any. And if not, that's okay. Yeah, absolutely. So who here, does anybody have an app that's doing the SDLC process? Yeah? Yeah? Okay. So one of the things that was really important to us is that we wanted to be able to leverage Webpack, for all of our tools, for all of our pages. And so we're kind of leveraging a unique infrastructure, I guess, where Webpack is just another step in Gradle that just gets run. You can just think about it as a ahead-of-time compiler for the browser. And so we do that compilation step, and then the files that are emitted are actually what gets processed and deployed through, I think, what is it, RPMs. And so really, we have a standard config for our project that essentially is a one-size-fits-all, but corresponds to kind of the performance practices and design patterns that we're looking to accomplish for all of our front-end user-facing pages. Hopefully that answers your question. Absolutely.
All of those files have to be packaged up and managed as part of the format. Well, so in the past, it was a lot of complexity and management and it's obviously this website that provides that nice point of contact between our data and all of those JavaScript assets. And you can use JavaScript. Developers can really focus on the webpack perspective and the provides that nice layer of integration stack. And it's great. That's what we really want to do. Not everything.
Absolutely, and that's a great point. Is that the different steps for managing certain types of assets that would have to either be manually coded into a Gradle build file, or you're having to write a slew of npm tasks or a grunt file, or maybe it's singularized, like you said. It makes it one way to be able to handle all those dependencies. Yeah, and so overall, even if let's say you don't base 64 inline an image into your JavaScript, but it's still at least managed in that dependency tree, and so the benefits are so vast compared to something just like task counting. Some people can consider it to configuring like the old make files, I guess. They're like, oh, I can do a make file. But yeah, so one of the really cool things that I wanted to announce for you guys. Were there any other questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to sometimes the fact that the JavaScript ecosystem is really complicated. There's different versions of JavaScript, and they have the newer releases of JavaScript present an opportunity to, I think, develop better coding practices, but not all the browsers that really support that stuff. And so again, webpack, I think, makes it easy to go ahead and code in the latest versions of JavaScript, and then we can install that JavaScript code into the version that we want on browsers. So a lot of those greater details that you don't see in the browser that you see in JavaScript. I would argue, Webpack makes that stuff up.
It does.
For us,
Absolutely. In a perfect world, I'd love to be able to, it's impossible with different business cases and needs and requirements, but yeah, it'd be great to have almost everything shipping with Webpack with a specific set of already configured tools. And so kind of like what Create React app does for new React developers. System and environment, but still allow for the flexibility to add specific features. Because, you shouldn't have to sacrifice developer experience to make a super high-performant web app. They should be mutually exclusive. And so, that's just one of those things that we're trying to accomplish. So yeah, any other questions? Comments? All right, so yeah, one of the things that, so one of the reasons why this is broadcasted live for the entire universe to see is that today we are releasing Webpack 2 Final right now. So, so it is going to be available here in just a moment. I'm going to deploy it. But, oh yeah, I guess any WebExers, was there any questions that you guys had? I'll take that as a thumbs up. All right. Well, then I'll cut the, let's see, I'll cut the share screen. But yes, so we're going to make it available right now. And you guys can all go to NPM. You can all go to NPM and just NPM install Webpack. And it should still be under the beta tag for right now, but we're going to just do that live deploy on a Hangout and see if we can get some, get the community involved and have everybody try it out. So, yes, otherwise, I'll do that process, but nobody has to stay and sit around if you don't want to. Thank you. It actually will be, yeah, because I have this on archive. It's streaming on live YouTube right now as well, so you can access it. You send me that. Oh yeah. So hopefully that build. It's exciting times.
I want to know how it fits into my closure script.
We can do that with a closure loader, I think, maybe. Or you can pass, like, maybe the whole program, the AST program, to the compiler. I'll show you that. We should do that. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. I mean, I know that some of it's not for,
It's awesome.
you know, maybe a little overhead, but
No, it's all good.
good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. All right.
You heading to 10?
Oh,
You're just gonna release that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go sit maybe somewhere in the atrium so I can do a release. Excuse me. Oh.
Hey, that was good.
Hey, thank you.
See if you ever do it. Check the message when I get back. That was really nice.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it's a little bit weirder when it's a smaller crowd, like audience to tell people, but it's good. I'm glad. I appreciate it. So let's release some stuff.
But just to get
Too much to drink over lunch.
It'll be like an NPM release, but I gotta double check.
Oh. NPM stuff.
Tobias, can you hear me?
Yeah.
What's up, man? How's it going? He was on the whole time.
Well, fine, thanks.
I forgot to tell everybody that you were here also. Okay.
Yeah, just watching.
How was it? I know there's some things that are a little outdated, but
Oh, fine.
all right, let's tweet this baby out. Special live announcement for webpack. You best be checking it out. Cool. So is there anything else that we need to tie up before we ship? Are the other guys not available?
What is the web?
Let's see. Nice.
I'm ready.
All right. Let me spam Yuho and Johannes to see if they want to join.
Johannes is not there.
Okay. Case.
I'm ready. Just need to push the button.
Do it. Let's do it. Hit it.
I can send another.
See you later, man.
Yeah, see ya.
Can you see my screen?
I can. Here, let me make it so that it broadcasts on just your screen. I think we can set that. Awesome. Yep. So everybody should be seeing you.
Okay. Okay. I npm versioned it and created the tag for the master branch, and now I'm git push tags, and git npm publish it under the beta tag. Okay.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Mwah.
Okay. So that means I'm going to publish this now. And this will be fun. I'm sure people are like,
Publish.
Here.
Okay, published. Woohoo!
Nice.
Okay, and now the release notes.
Well, I thought I'm doing another tweet. And
Have you published the post, the blog post?
it's published. So much. All right. Boom. Here's the magic tweet. I'll send a link. Boom, 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 boom. Here's that. Send it to everybody offensively. Okay. Okay. Here you go. Still on your screen.
My Chrome crashed. It's broken sometimes.
I wonder what, I haven't actually visited the URL. I wonder if anybody's in the chat on the YouTube page. YouTube. Let's see. Anybody was listening or can hear us, we just released Webpack 2. It's myself and Tobias Coppers, the original author of Webpack. And we are just tying the loose ends of the Webpack to final release deployment process. Awesome. And, okay, cool. Nicely done all. Thanks for joining. Cool, cool, cool. Okay. And time to publish Hacker News and Reddit. Okay. I wonder if there's like deploy bots for the, I always see like when toptal.com releases a, when they release essentially a new article, like 1,000 bots retweet it. I've never seen it in my life. Webpack 2, the final release. It's here. Okay, Hacker News.
Okay.
Boom. Time for Reddit.com. Go to JavaScript cross post. Okay, almost there. Submit a link. Awesome. Is it pulling that up? It is. Nice. Submit.
Joe, it's done.
Nice. Okay. Now it's time to turn my phone off. Just kidding. Oh, gosh. Okay. That link's there. And what else do I need to do? Direct message anybody who is going to be good at sharing this link. Awesome. This is great. Who else am I forgetting? Okay. We got it. We did it. Oh. So does that mean we can technically close out the milestone? We're going to keep the milestone open.
Oh, we got it. Hope it's wrong.
Whew. Close one. Close one. Oh, so now everything we're going to fill up into the new bug milestone. That's 2.3, right? I think so. Awesome. Okay. It's final. Nice. Oh man. Okay. Sweet. Oh hey Max, how's it going? Max.
Pretty good. How about yourself?
Good man. We just dropped Webpack 2. Boom.
I saw. That's why I'm joining.
I feel
Finally.
Finally. About time. It's here. Well, heck. So I have funny enough, I have a planning meeting that I have to get to. I wonder if I can still leave the live stream open. Let me see. If I was to leave, the broadcast would end. Let's see. Let's see. Let me double check. Da-da-da-da-da-dum. So you're gonna update React Boilerplate then tonight? Is that what you're doing, Max? Oh, he left already. He was like, oh, I'm just stopping by. Maybe he just found out he was live. Nope, see ya. Oh gosh, okay. What else we got? I think that's it, man. I'll keep my phone handy for anything else. It'll be on a loud vibrate. So I'm in planning meeting, I don't see, or it doesn't go off a bunch of times. Nice work. Oh, this is a weight off my shoulders. All right, time to add scope hoisting. Sweetness. All right, let me wrap up the chat so I can get back to meeting. Hey, everybody. All right, guys, thanks for everyone who's listening in the world. Looks like a total of 4 people who are watching the stream. But I'm going to sign off because I actually have to get back to my real job. And but go ahead and use Webpack 2, download it. Take a look at our migration guide. Take a look at the Medium post. Look at all the new stuff, the Webpack apparel store. Get some cool new t-shirts. And then also report bugs. Report bugs. And I'll be around later tonight for all you Central Standard to Pacific Time people who need help, or just find me on Twitter, #Webpack. And you can spam any of the core maintainers. I think all of our Twitter URLs are there. So thank you, guys. All right, Tobias, I'm getting off.
Yeah. Okay.